Okay, this is a recipe handed down, and we call it Grandma's Dill Pickles. And the preparation is like 1 cup of sugar, 2 cups of vinegar, 10%. But if you don't have 10%, then 9% is okay. 4 cups of distilled water. Mix all of this together and have it ready before you begin pickling. And for your preparation before the canning, be sure that you have sterilized canning jars, good rings and lids, and the prepared liquid that we just gave the recipe for. And then we need canning, pickling salt, fresh dill, garlic is optional, and pickling spice is optional. Those 2 items can be bought at any grocery store in the spice section. Then we need a good canning metal pot that is going to be deep enough to completely cover the jar of packed cucumbers.
Okay.
Pack the cucumbers into the jar, placing the larger ones standing upward against each other as tight as possible. Fill all the spaces with any size cucumber that will fit. Keep about 1 inch of space at the top of the jar. Put 1 teaspoon of canning salt in the top of a quart jar, and if you're using a pint, use 1/2 teaspoon of salt, canning salt. Then pour the prepared liquid over the cucumbers.
Okay.
Seal the jar. Place the jar into a metal canner filled with hot water with a layer of cloth on the bottom of the pot so that the jar is not sitting on the metal bottom. Jar should be completely covered by water. Heat the water until the color of the cucumber is no longer dark green, but a lighter shade. Remove from the water bath and wait 5 to 6 weeks before opening. The heating process will take about 10 to 15 minutes. This would be the color that it should be after you take it out of the canner, a lighter shade than what you had to begin with the dark green. These will be the items that you will need before you start canning, and we already talked about the pre-mixed pickling mixture which is in that jar. Then we have the pickling and the canning salt available at any store, and then your garlic if you're going to use garlic, and then the pickling spice which you can get anywhere. And in this case we're using fresh dill. If you're not using the pickling spice, then if you can get fresh dill, that would be the thing to do. We will begin with the dill, and then we will put the largest cucumbers on the bottom and try to get them as tight as we can get them. And try to fill up all the spaces that we have down at the bottom. And then we will start filling up. Now if we have to move them around a little bit, that will be just fine. And then we will start filling the spots that we have so that we can get as much space taken care of as possible. And then we can put the smaller ones wherever they will fit. And then we will continue doing that everywhere where there is a space, and finding whatever might fit in there. Most of the time I'm using this towel because it could slip and everything fall apart and be broken. We need to try to get as many of them in there as possible, and if they just don't fit, then just get another one and see if the next one will fit. We want to stay about 1 inch from the top of the jar. And we continue trying to get as many of them in there as possible. The tighter that they are, the better they will be when they're finished. This is probably about as many as we're going to get into this jar. So that is what it looks like. And then what we will do is we will get our pickling canning salt, and we will use 1 teaspoon because this is a quart. And then what we will do is take our prepared pickling mixture, which was on the recipe, and we will fill it to the top. And then we will seal it and we will not seal it really tight, just tight enough so that it's deal. And usually what I do is flip it a few times so that the salt will dissolve on the bottom. At this point, it will be ready to be put into the pot, which will have the cloth down on the bottom so that it does not touch the hot bottom. Then we will fill that with water to make sure that it is covered. And we will boil it for 10 to 15 minutes until it changes the color. Then when we take it out, be sure to put it in a place where there is not like air conditioner blowing at it, and it will need to be that way for 5 or 6 weeks, because it is not, it's strictly a pickling process. So that means that the sugar, the salt, the sugar, and the vinegar have to work to penetrate every cucumber in there.